Hey everyone, before we get started, I just wanted to remind you for the most up-to-date information on mortgages in Indy's real estate market, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. I'm Rick Rittman, the Hardworking Mortgage Guy, and I've had the honor of working with over 5,200 mortgage borrowers, helping each one find their best mortgage option. As a certified mortgage planner, I know my team and I can guide you through the process and make it an easy step and an easy process to go through, as easy as it can be in mortgages. Ian is not available today, so Ian will not be joining us, but I have somebody I'm really excited about. I have known Kim, it's Kim Meeker, and I have known her we established 28 years. I thought it was longer, it seemed longer. And we sold new homes together at a builder. And she picked up, she moved, she went to California, and she is one of the queens of the California real estate market. She is phenomenal, and I think she's actually, which we'll find out, I think she's thinking about opening an office here in Indiana, so it'll be in both areas. So I am really excited about it. I can tell you Kim's a wonderful person. She has a tremendous work ethic. Kim, thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, it's a little easier when I've known somebody as long as I've known you. I mean, not that we communicate all that much, but it is, I just feel like, it's funny how Facebook does now. By just staying on Facebook and LinkedIn, you get a pretty good idea of what's going on in people's lives, and you feel like even if you don't see them all the time, you know them. So do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do. Yes. I do. I feel like I feel like, really even all my friends back in Indy as well, like I just feel like we just never skipped a beat. You could pick up the phone and it's like you were just together yesterday practically with Facebook. It is nice having that.
Yeah, I noticed it with my kids. My kids, they when they got together with their cousins after months and months, it was like they never left. Where when I was a kid, it was not that way. It was, you kind of had to get to re-know them again, but they never felt like they didn't because they were with them all the time on the social media front. So with that, I normally start with finding out how you got into it, but let's real quick just jump into the social media. It appears to me you do a lot on social media. Is that one of your focal points?
It is. Absolutely. It's definitely being, it's a way for you to stay belly to belly with people when you can't be face to face, right? Right? Absolutely. Social media is definitely key. I think whether it's relationships or in sales or running a business, you have to be in front all the time. And it's nice that we have social media that we can leverage today, because back when you and I started in home sales, period, there was no social media. I'm going to totally date us here. I think we were just getting pagers. I think we were getting pagers. I remember that while we were there, I got my first cell phone. Yeah. I think one of our bosses actually had the big old construction cell phone. Remember the big case that you had to carry around with your phone inside of it? Oh gosh.
Yeah. Those days are gone, thankfully.
Yeah.
But they got us to where we are today. So it's awesome. Now you even have a social media manager, is that correct?
I do.
And she helps. I'm assuming, so if I'm a real estate agent out there and I'm listening, how important do you feel that is to have somebody doing your social media? Is that a high net worth item to have done for you as a real estate agent?
So it really just depends where you're at in your business, right? So a solo agent, someone that's just getting started with their business, may have a lot of sweat equity time to put in and do their own social media management themselves. And I highly recommend that they do in the beginning, just so that they can understand how the platforms speak to each other, how everything works. And it also helps it to remind them to stay on social media, right? Because just like anything, you can do it for a week or two, and then you forget and you get busy with all the other things that are going on and you forget to do it. So a solo agent can absolutely do it by themselves. Once you start to gain momentum and you have more business, you want to leverage, right? So then you take the next step and you can hire an in-house marketing manager. You can hire a virtual assistant marketing manager, or you can hire a company to do it. So when I took my social media and I decided to have someone help me with that part-time, I hired someone to do that for me part-time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think leveraging is very important. But you always have to get going on your own first. It's kind of like follow-up, and this is taking us back to the Estridge days, the new home construction days. When I was there, I had the first follow-up system I had was a what do they call it? A box that was, you put recipes, a recipe box, right? I had two of them.
Box that we all had.
Yeah, I had two of them.
5 cards.
Yeah,
like a Rolodex.
Exactly. And I had one that was dated by when I needed to do the follow-up, and one that was dated by was done by their name. And then I was the first person to go get a computer. And I put a program on it because my brother was a computer person, and I used that. But even before that, it went from that box, it went to a typewriter that had a memory. You could save. And I had two of those, one with people's names and one with the what I was going to send, the letters I'd pre-written, so I could do that. Anyway, but then let
me remind you of something though. Like, this is how what an impact that you made on my life 28 years ago in the beginning of my career in home sales, even though I had the mortgage background before I came into new home sales. But learning how to work with customers whether it's coming in the door in a sales model or not, what you taught me was invaluable. I use it to today. You taught me how to use that black box. You remember you actually did some sales meetings and you said, well, Rick uses this, and this is how he uses his 3x5 cards. And then if you remember, we moved it over to a filing system. Then once I took the lead sheet, then I put it in the filing system.
Right.
And then you, my friend, actually are the one that turned me on to ACT, which was my first.
Yep.
Well, the black box was the CRM, right? But
right.
Then ACT became our CRM. And I had the hardest time getting away from ACT, even when I moved out to San Diego and learning to use a different CRM, because I was looking at like Top Producer, some other CRMs that I was being introduced at that time to coming into the resale market. And so, but that ACT, you, my friend, you're the one that introduced me to that program.
Well, I knew I introduced a lot of people. It's really nice to hear that somebody else actually used it.
Yeah.
Because as you know, there's probably many people you've done the same thing for, and many of them never actually use it. And that's nice to hear that you used. I'm glad you did. And I think, I personally believe it's one of the reasons that I've been successful in what I do is because I have a very strict follow-up system. And I do that. And I'm guessing that's a big piece of what has driven you and grown your business is that you had a system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
It's very simple, right? It just starts with the system that you have. It's like they say, the best CRM is the CRM that you use. The best follow-up system is the follow-up system that you use. You have to, the money is in the follow-up, right? The relationships are in the follow-up, right?
Right. Yes. It's important for anybody to do that. And it's also important, I think it's invaluable for that customer that you stay in touch with them. And as you just said, it's the relationship. They actually become more than just a customer. They become friends because you talk to them all the time.
Family. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And you can follow up. And again, go back to social media. If you join them on their social media sites, you're now seeing them a lot. You're seeing what happens in their life. The milestones of their life all show up. And you do feel a connection that you don't have if you don't have the social media, but you also need to follow up. You also need to call them once in a while. We call every quarter, we call every single customer that's done business with us. and a lot of people forget about those ones. And I know you do the same thing because I was reading some of the stuff you were doing, and it's like, dang, she's doing the same thing I'm doing. Because it works, right?
It works.
Yeah. It's amazing. So how did you end up getting into real estate? And I guess let's keep it to like, how did you end up doing it in San Diego? I think it's fascinating. I'd like to actually get started before San Diego because I have told everybody ever since you did it, I'm like, I'm impressed as can be because you picked up your entire family and you moved to San Diego. And that takes an amazing amount of belief in yourself and commitment and gumption or whatever you want to call it. How did you do that?
Well, so even before Estridge, so a little bit about like my personality and just who I am. I've just always been, I've just always had a fire internally inside of me, and I've just always had dreams. And I made a commitment to myself at a very young age that I'm never going to give up on my dreams. I will never, ever give up on my dreams. And whatever, what that, everybody has a different meaning for that, I think, and what it means. But at a very young age, I was disappointed a lot by adults and stuff. And I always was the quiet one, believe it or not. And I just sat back and I just took everything in, and I was always paying a lot of attention to everything, right? And I just made a commitment to myself to never give up on my dreams and my goals. And my mom would even tell me all the time, like, reach for the stars, reach for the stars. She would always say, be aware of your surroundings, go for this, go for that. And so I just, growing up with a single mom and having a lot of time to myself, and I had to raise myself, I developed that strength at a very young age. And I also was very humbled in the same moment too. So coming into, when I was 18, I actually packed up my bags and I moved out to San Diego with $760 in my pocket. That's when it first started. So I moved out here. I was in the mortgage industry. I was actually a telemarketer for a mortgage company from Indianapolis.
Okay.
And Riverside Mortgage. I don't know if you remember them. They were around for a little while. They were out of Ohio. And I was a telemarketer there, and I was their top telemarketer, but I wanted to come out to San Diego to also go to college, but I had to pay for my own school, right? And I couldn't afford school back in Indianapolis. So I did come out here. They have junior colleges out in San Diego. So I signed up at a local junior college, and I was the mortgage company's telemarketer out here in San Diego. So that's kind of where it was all birthed. And I used to literally go down to the courthouse 8 hours a day. I would write down, I'd go through the data, and I would write down the name, address, and the interest rates of people that I'd have to go to the crisscross book, and I'd have to extract out their phone numbers and put it on that 3x5 card. And then the telemarketers back in Indianapolis would call those people and set appointments for the loan officers to do second TVs and some hard money loans. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I lived out in San Diego. I lived in San Francisco. And when the market crashed in 92 is when, like, literally I showed up. I was in the mortgage business. I was a loan officer / loan processor. I was doing both jobs for a company that we had the accounts of, like, some big companies at that time. So we were doing a lot of employee loans and refis and purchases. And I literally showed up to the front door. Now, mind you, I was 22 years old, making almost six figures that year. Very young age to be making that kind of money. But I showed up to the door and it was locked. The market literally shifted almost overnight. And when that happened, my mom's health wasn't very good. And I said, you know what? I need to go back to Indy. I'm going to go back to Indy. So I packed up again and I moved out to Indiana. So That's how I ended back. But I always knew that I would be back out here. I just didn't know how I was going to get back out here. And so fast forward, when I moved back, my family's business was inside an office building that had another builder in there. And they were on the top floor, and their mortgage company was on the first floor. So I went back and I worked for their mortgage company, actually.
Okay.
And so when I did that, how the new home dream was birthed is that, again, out in California, I was making almost six figures that year. I think I made $92,000, and this was back in 91. Sorry, so I was 21 and a half, almost 22. And so when I moved back to Indy, I couldn't get a job making more than $25,000 a year. Now I know back then it was decent money, but I was like, oh my God, this is like panic mode for me. Like I can't work for somebody only making $25,000 a year, right? But I did it for the interim, and then I did a loan for a sales consultant for this national home builder. And when I saw her W-2, it came across my desk. I'm like, that's what I need to do. I need to sell homes. I gotta get back up to that income level, right? And that's what I did. So I went and I interviewed with the salesperson, the sales manager. I met him out in the hallway, and I said, "Hey, if you guys have any positions open as a salesperson, I'd love the opportunity to interview with you." Like at 20, 21, 22 years old, I was already like, hey. And he kind of looked at me and he's like, well, go get some experience somewhere else and then let me know. That's exactly what he said to me. And I thought, okay, game on. Like, right? So,
that's right.
I felt like he literally, said, yeah, whatever, kind of laughed me off. Like, you're just, and so I took that information, the competitive nature in me, and I went back and I did as much research as I could. I'm like, I want to know who all the builders are. I want to know who the best are. And so I went back, I quit that job, right? And so I started door knocking on the doorstep of the builders. I started cold calling builders, right? And so I didn't know about Estridge at that time, but I knew that without a college degree, because I didn't have a college degree, okay, back in Indy, like to get in the pharmaceutical sales or new home sales, like you had to have a degree. Like everybody wanted you to have a degree, right? And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to come in the back door somewhere. I got to show my numbers. I got to prove my worth, right? So what I did is I knocked on the door of a small builder that was just getting up and going, and called Biltmore Homes. I don't know if you remember them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. And so I went in, I interviewed with the owners at one of the sales models, and I got the job. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, but no training. Like, over here, you can sell, no problem. You're pretty enough. You got this, right? But you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Right. And because I had that mortgage background, because I was the telemarketer for, through high school, and because I went and I did all that handwork, it was before, when I did all the handwork with the stuff in San Diego,
right,
and understanding notes and payments and 40-year mortgages and stuff, that's what I used. Nobody gave me scripts. I got a model home. I showed up, I sat at the desk, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? So when people would come in, I had my floor plans up, and I went and I made a payment for each floor plan.
Okay.
And that's how I sold. I sold 56 houses my first year.
That's awesome.
No training.
Yeah. Self-training.
Except for the mortgage side.
Yeah. But you're a good salesperson, and you're highly motivated. So you do what we all do. You go, what do I have to do to make this work? And you figure it out. And that's what you did. And sometimes that might be better. Yeah, you had to figure it out. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you for any real estate needs, now, are you in Indiana yet, or are you coming this way to have an office?
No, it's still on the back burner.
Okay.
Still on the back burner. I mean, it definitely could possibly come together. Right now, last year was really building out the systems and processes that I need to have all together to make it an environment that agents can come in and learn and thrive in. And then we'll take this and duplicate it back in Indianapolis, most likely.
Okay. So how would somebody get a hold of you if they're looking for real estate in California? And actually, we're specific in California. And how would they get a hold of you?
So I'm actually in Temecula. It's just north of North County, San Diego. So we serve Riverside and San Diego counties. And if they need to connect with me, just come to meekerrealtygroup.com and they can get a hold of me fairly easy right there. Or Google.
Meeker Real Estate Group. Google. Yeah. Yeah. And it's Meeker, Meeker Real Estate Group. Yeah.
Yes.
And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. And we always ask one question. It's a little off the subject, but we love to ask this question. And if anybody is looking behind me, they can tell I'm kind of a car guy. What was your first car?
Oh my gosh. My first car was a Toyota Celica GT, 1977.
Oh, GT. Okay.
GT.
And you love that car, I can tell.
You know what? It did the job. I inherited it from my brother, so we'll leave it at that. It rolled down the street.
It's funny because everybody has interesting memories of their first car. Most people and there's two kinds of first cars. It's the first car you have that your parents kind of give you or whatever, and then the first car you actually go out and get yourself. But it's that very first car that tends to have a special place in your heart for some reason. We kind of, at least I do. I love cars, so I get attached to them. Ian loves cars. He gets attached to them. So it's just kind of how it is. Yeah.
I love cars. I mean, I always say, some girls, they've got their shoes and their other stuff. I've got my cars. I love cars.
Yeah. Do you have anything special right now? Car wise?
Let's see here. I do have my mom car, and it's not a minivan. I have an SL 550.
Oh, okay.
Convertible.
Awesome. Yeah. That's a mom car. Of course, your kids are not sitting around home, and they're probably too big to fit in that car anyway.
So, Jim doesn't fit in there very well.
I didn't think so.
Squeeze him in. And then the boys they fit in there. Nathan's a little tall. Nathan's 6'5", a little over 6'5". So
yeah, I knew from the pictures they looked pretty tall, and I knew Jim's a big guy, so I figured, tall wise. So what are you known for, or what is your superpower as you look at real estate? What's your superpower?
I guess, I would say, I'm not sure if it's just one power. It's all mixed into one per se. I would just say motivation, drive, just being consistent. When you don't want to get up, you got to get up, you got to go, but I think for me, it's really just being consistent, Rick, getting back to the basics, staying with the basics and be consistent, just because that's your platform. Right. So, I always say when I get on stage, I'm on stage. Like you can't take me off stage. Right. And so what I mean by that is when I'm performing, I perform. And I will always perform at the highest level. And the only way I got here was by being consistent, sticking with the basics, and adding on and complementing my tool belt with the other tools that I need to be successful.
Right. As you grow, we all have to do that. Yeah. As you grow, that's what you have to do.
But also as you fail too, because if you don't have a system, right, and you haven't developed the right environment for yourself to thrive, when you do fail, you tend to derail. Right.
Yes.
Right. And so, you can always talk yourself out of something. It's a lot easier for us to talk ourselves out of something than it is to talk ourselves into something.
Yes. And with the fail, I think that's important because a lot of pretty much everybody who is successful has failed.
100%. Many times.
Yes. Yeah. And And so anybody, like if there's real estate agents that go, that are listening and they're struggling today because it is a different market, they need to understand we've all failed. It's figuring out why you're failing and changing what you need to change, figuring out what is working and keep doing what's working, and listening to mentors. You need mentors. Do you have any mentors, or have you had mentors through your career?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And mentors are, they're just critical, right? A coach, a mentor, someone you look up to. Put yourself in rooms that are so uncomfortable that it forces you to grow, right? And so, whether it's today being in the industry for 30 something plus years, or when I first got started, I always, or being with that first builder, I've always forced myself, if I want to get what I want, if it doesn't scare the holy crap out of me, I don't do it. If the room doesn't scare the holy crap out of me, I don't go in, right? Because somebody else's comfort level is going to be somebody else's painful level, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I just, want to invite everyone to try to think that way, no matter where you are, what stage of your life you're in, no matter what industry you're in, if you're an agent or, whatever you're doing, just get a little bit uncomfortable every day, more uncomfortable every day. Do athletes get to where they're at because they don't have a coach? No, they have a coach. They have a mentor, right? And for the beginning agent or a solo agent that might not have the income to afford a coach, nowadays having YouTube there, a lot of coaches put their content out there for free, right?
Right.
And you can go on, you can Google, even agents like myself and like you, as a lender, we're putting content out there to help other agents grow, right?
Yeah, that's a lot what this show's about. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things we want to accomplish is help that. One of the things as you look at it, and if somebody's going through these struggles, I've had many agents on here who's said, "Hey, call me. I'll help you." I mean, it's amazing the community that we have. And how about you? Probably have. I know you have a team. What's your team set up? And I'm sure that you have plenty of agents you're helping at this point in time. You're mentoring. Yeah.
So where we're at is, I have what I call a team brokerage. It's a little bit different than, the good old team. I think we've come so far from when we were all trying to start up teams, 5, 6, 7 years ago. And then before that, in the real estate community, it was partners, right? You had two agents that work together. You have your own book of business. But if you you can't show a property or not able to get something, your partner your business partner would go show that property, right? Well, we've evolved into these teams because, again, of leverage, right? So where we're at now and why I call myself a team brokerage is we've put together systems and processes in a community within a community of the brokerage to be able to facilitate I'm going to call it a community because I prefer to call it a community where agents can come in and they can collaborate, they can learn, and they get the secret sauce, right? We're opening up our playbooks, right? And saying, if you are looking to do this is what you need to do. So we're also providing coaching and guidance, but it's all based off of putting together an environment that people can come into and thrive versus having the door shut, right? I mean, gosh, Rick, when you and I first got started, just in our sales meetings, having you and Dave there and other people that had quite a bit of experience with car sales and their background, and just being able to listen to you guys talk, I was a sponge. You have to be a sponge, right? So the team brokerage is set up where we're facilitating an environment that everyone can feel safe and come in and learn under, and then take their businesses to the next level. You're not building my business, right? It's not Kim Meeker team. It's Meeker Realty Group as a group and a community.
Right. Yeah. It's important. Mentors, I've mentioned this before, but my son brought it up to me and I had never thought of it. He says, Dad, there's horizontal mentors and there's vertical mentors. So what you just mentioned is when we work together, you would say things, Lisa would say things, other people would say things, and I'd go, okay, how do I implement that in my structure? So you were mentoring at that point me, and I would mention something, and maybe you did the same thing or somebody else did, and that's the horizontal. But the vertical is then when somebody else comes in, and it is tough and it has changed. I remember, I won't mention his name, but when I started, I wanted to do follow-up, and he had all these letters, and he was the manager. He had moved from sales to management, and he wouldn't give me his letters. He wouldn't let me use them because he made them. He didn't realize we were all on the same team. Today he would, but that's just what happened back then. But you do need those strong mentors to help you become successful. It's not a negative, it's a huge positive, and you'll become a mentor too. So it's just what you have to do, in my opinion.
Yeah. So we actually bring in agents to the team, and then I can also bring them into the brokerage. They can be both. They can be on our team brokerage, or they can be just at the brokerage. And I mentor them either way, right? So they're going to get the support and the knowledge, and they know that somebody's there and in their court, right? They don't have to do this business alone. And, there's still some of that going on today where people don't want to open up their playbooks. And that's okay, right? That's totally okay. But we get into a growth mindset or a fear mindset, right?
Yes. And I think that's a big piece of it right there. I think you hit that dead on. There's people who they don't think there's enough out there. I'm sure that you feel the same way. I've been doing this long enough that I realize there's more than enough out there. I don't have to worry about somebody else. I just do mine, and them getting a deal didn't take one away from me. Right?
No. And in fact, it could even help you bring many more to your to the bottom line, right? Because if you're positive and you're upbeat and you have that growth mindset and you stick in that space, I tell the team as well, and my boys, it actually started with my mom did it to me, but I gave it to my boys as well. Every day that they would leave for school, I would tell them, go make sure you smile at somebody today. And the thing is, they never looked at me like, okay, Mom, whatever. They never made me feel awkward for saying that. I'm like, one of these days they're just say, okay, Mom, cool, check out, whatever. But it just reminds you to stay in that space of giving, right? And so if you're a giver, you're going to give. And others, even if they take, it's okay. It's okay. Eventually they'll start to give too. It's just, you pass the baton, right?
Yes.
And so
and who you give? Go ahead.
If you're having a bad day or a good day, it doesn't matter. Just pay it forward. Pay it forward. Just smile at someone, because you just never know what kind of day they're having.
Yeah. And who you give to doesn't mean that's where you're going to get something back from. But it does come back. It just may be from some other area, maybe from somebody else. You just never know. So you don't worry about it. You just do it. That's why we do this. That's part of what this is. This is about giving to real estate agents. Some will, some won't. That's okay. But we want to help. We think everybody, people need the help right now. And so that's why we're doing it.
Right.
And so we think that's important.
It's so important. It's so important. It's just, there's so many opportunities out there that we can all win together. Right.
And that's a better celebration, winning together, I think. Yeah. So what key activities would you recommend a realtor invest their time in?
What key activities would I recommend?
Key activities? What key activities would you suggest or recommend a realtor invest their time in?
Sure. Oh my gosh. So going into 2023, do you want me to just kind of head into that 2023?
Yeah, that'd be good.
What's going to make that different for them? So the key is just, get your goals up in visual. Number one, well, actually number one should be your calendar, right? You need to
Absolutely.
be selfish in order to be selfless. So get your calendar out in front of you. Get up early. Don't sleep until 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, right? Get up early. Invest some time into yourself first. Read, do a workout. Make sure you got your diet on point. Drink your water, right? And then from there, start your day, right?
Right.
But get your goals up in visual. And Rick, this started back again, back in my days working with you all. And, I don't know whose idea it was, but I got it at one of our sales meetings, was the mirror, right? Putting your goals up on the mirror. And then and one of our friends that we worked with, we used to use like our eyeliner and our lipstick.
I never used my eyeliner.
But until I figured out that the expo markers actually work on your mirror, right? So, but just get them up. And I like my mirror. I love my mirror because it's something I see every single day, whether I brush my teeth or brush my hair, I'm in front of my mirror, right? And so get your goals up there, get your financial goals up there, get your prospecting goals up there, right? The next thing is for 2023, you have to go on more appointments. What you did in 2021, 2022, whether you're a brand new agent, or I can speak to both fields here, whether you're brand new or an existing agent. 2021, 2022, while it was very difficult because we had to pivot, right, going into a pandemic, you're going to need more appointments. And those appointments, then you also want to have and go through what your lead generation pillars are going to be, right? So I would say calendar, goals, and then you need to set more appointments. But in order to get the appointments, agents are going to be like, well, but I'm a brand new agent. I don't have any clients. Where do I get my clients? Well, sit down with your mentor, sit down and go through and get yourself 2 or 3 lead pillars. You don't need 16 like I have right now, right? You just need like 2 or 3 lead pillars. Keep it simple. Stick to the basics.
Right.
And, those lead pillars can consist of, as an agent, I love open houses. Coming from our background, I can go through, still even to today, I can go through a brand new neighborhood and I can file away the elevations. I just have this, I don't know, it's just burnt into my brain.
That way.
We were trained that way, but I can. So for farming and open houses, for me, I'm super comfortable because of having all those years of just having that and being trained on elevations. But so your lead pillars, no more than 3. And if you only are comfortable doing 2, then just do 2. There's no right or wrong. I just wouldn't do more than 3. You also really want to establish and get all your past clients down and on paper, right? And know, and again, brand new agent might not have past clients, but you do. If you download, and there's an app that you can actually download all your contacts from your phone into a spreadsheet. You go through, you clean that out, and you call 10 people a week on that list, and you set an appointment. Try to go for 2 a week or 3 a week with people that already know, like, and trust you. Maybe even love you, for family wise. And you just have it, you offer to bring them pizza and soda over and say, can I have 30 minutes of your time? I just want to talk to you about your real estate needs. I'm not going to sell you a house. I'm not even looking to list your home. I'm just training. That's basic, right?
Yes.
And then for those that already have the past clients, you have to follow up quarterly with them. You want to do pop buys with them. If you have a conversion ratio of 1 in 5, for example, now this is agents that are more established that have the past clientele. If you're contacting them every single quarter and you're calling to be their real estate advisor, right? You should end up with 1 transaction per quarter just from 1 in 5 on average. Right? So if you do that every quarter, and you're calling, I don't have my calculator in front of me, but if you're calling, let's say 20 people that might know, like, and trust you. And some people might not only know 5 people. Okay. Just do the math. But if you're connecting with them, you should be able to extract an extra 5 to 7 transactions that year from there, because the people that are referring business to you are a lot easier to convert versus the colder lead.
Right. And once you do that, then those people that you've just worked with are, if you do a good job, are likely to then refer you to, and that's how you build your business. You build it slowly, and it isn't necessarily slowly, but that's how you do it. I find what you said, it's funny because you and I do exactly the same thing. You know, you have to have your schedule, you have to have your calendar, we have certain times, you call people all day long, and you just do it. And it's not, once you start doing it, you actually, if you miss a day, you miss it because it's really helpful. And I
can't do my follow-up. I truly get super cranky. I get irritable and I get cranky because I know how important that is to move the needle, right?
Yes.
In business. Versus going to hiding underneath a shell somewhere. I get super cranky because I just know, like, I love to be in front of people. I love to be, you know what I love? I love taking care of people.
Right. Yeah. You always were. I mean, that's what you always did. That always comes across, and it does. You just don't feel the same because you know you're not doing the things to help others, and it's really up to us to do that because they don't know. Another question, if someone's looking to hire a real estate agent, what is it that what should they look for when they're looking to hire somebody? Like, so I'm thinking about listing my house, or I'm thinking about buying a house. I don't have an agent. I'm going to look for an agent. What should I do? What would you recommend?
So it depends if they've sold a home before or not, because if they've sold a house before, my first question to them would be, what are you looking for in an agent? If they had a great experience, what can I do to duplicate and make that experience still, a good experience for you? If they had a bad, I don't want them to go down the rabbit hole and tell me all this bad stuff that happened, but I go more into, I meet them where they're at, right?
Okay.
And so, what's important to you when hiring a real estate professional? I think it's really important to know your keywords when you do that as well, because a professional is someone that's going to have all the tools to make your experience a better one. So that's probably the first question is I would ask myself, what's important to me when hiring a real estate professional? I would write that down, and then I would ask the agent, share with me, if this was important to me, how would you handle this? I tend to work best with people that do this. Are you able to accommodate my needs here? Right. And then from there, what's, part of that, what's important to you, is it going to be experience, right? Is it going to be marketing, communication? Those are typically your first top 3.
Okay. Yeah. And it's vital that people understand that. And the best way to find out is from people who are in the business. I want to go back to what we were talking about before, just add, if there's agents out there in Indiana that are looking for help in that area of follow-up and that type of thing, we actually have something called Ride the Wave, which is a warm referral program, and it's all about follow-up. Okay, it's totally about follow-up, and because a lot of people, you can call people, you've cold called your whole life, so you don't have a problem with that. Some people are scared to death to do that, but even some people I find a lot of agents don't even have a good follow-up system from the time they close on. And I've talked to some, they have for the first month, they have a good follow-up system, but then it goes away. And so our system, I can actually help people set it up. And as you mentioned, I've been doing follow-up for 30 years. That's what I do. I can help set it up to make it work for them. And so those are the kind of things that are important that people do. And even if they just want to talk to somebody about how to do it, I can help do that. But I just thought, I probably should mention that because it's important. I think it's very helpful to people. We are coming up on the end of the show. So, Kim, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
So I'm actually in an area called Temecula, California. We are the 8th top wine destination in the United States, just so you know. And
Wow.
so, but we're in Southern California. So Temecula is just north of San Diego. You can Google us at meekerrealtygroup.com. And then also go to my page, which is Kim Meeker. I find that's probably the easiest, just to go to Google and you can reach directly out to me. My direct cell number, just go to Google. It's going to be easier for you, or you can actually call 951-456-4307 is another way to reach me as well.
And we'll put it all in. And so if they're looking at, they're driving down the road, they can't, but if they go to the podcast or the video, we're going to have all that information up also. If you need to get a hold of Ian or I, go ahead.
Yeah. Real quick too, Rick, if I may, the other thing with how we're all set up and accessible nowadays as well, no matter where you are, whether you're in Canada, United States, or another country, it's okay. I'm here to help. You don't just have to be in California. You can be anywhere as an agent. Always reach out to me. And I'll be of service to you. I'm here to help.
Awesome. Well, I think that's awesome. And I find all top agents are like that. It's amazing. You think that they're hard to get a hold of, and they really are there to help. Every single one has been that way. So that's awesome, and we appreciate that. If you need to get a hold of Ian or I, it's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. And Kim, thanks so much for joining us. I know you're busy, and we do appreciate you taking your time out. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.